I want to welcome everyone to the Sabbath Day conference call. And this is Barbara. I'm serving as your host today. And today we have a special guest with us, Brother Jake, and a few others. And we just want to invite all of you to go to our website for more information about the Creator's Sabbath, lunarsabbathday.com. So thank you, Brother Jake, for coming to be with us today.
All right. It's a pleasure. Pleasure to be here. Psalms 81 tells me that Joseph and all his predecessors before him, they were practicing the lunar Sabbath calendar way before Moses. If you read Psalms 81, let's just read it to the point where I can show you where he was actually practicing this, and he brought this to Egypt with him. So, to the chief musician upon Gittith, a psalm of Asaph, sing aloud unto Yahuwah our strength, make a joyful noise unto the Elohim of Yaakov. Take a psalm and bring hither the timbrel and the pleasant harp with a psaltery. Blow up the trumpet in the new moon day, in the new moon, in the time appointed, on our solemn feast day. You see, it calls the new moon day as a feast day. For this was a stubble for Israel, and the law of Elohim of Yaakov. This is ordained in Joseph for testimony when he went out from the land of Egypt, where I heard a language that I understood not. So, this verse tells me that they probably heard it from Adam, and Adam passed it down to Enoch. He passed it down to all of his children and all of his grandchildren, and they kept it all the way up to Egypt. Because this tells me that, Joseph knew, otherwise the scriptures would not be able to record this. So I believe that when the children of Israel were in Egypt, sometime in history they forgot about it. And that's why Moses reintroduced it and basically restored this practice. So,
well, is it possible the Levites, I just have a question, is it possible that the Levites and some of the people still kept the calendar in the heavens? I don't think the Sabbath was ever completely lost, was it?
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. I mean, it was basically engraved in their DNA. It was engraved with their way of life. And so it wasn't fully forgotten. I don't believe so. But what I'm saying is Moses basically reintroduced it and reaffirmed everything that they were taught throughout generations.
Yeah, because the Father reintroduced the calendar there before their Exodus in Exodus 12:1 and 2, that this is the beginning of months. The month of Passover was the beginning of the month.
Right. Well, I can see that. I can see the evidence that they knew they were practicing all this, because do you remember when Moses Moses came to Pharaoh, and Pharaoh is accusing him of making your people rest, making them basically just in plain language, why do you make people lazy? And that indication tells me that in their system in Egypt, they didn't have anything like this. But the children of Israel still kept the Sabbath. And I believe that maybe in how sometimes the whole entire nation falls back and kind of slacks off. But I believe that the Levites and other people, other scribes and other scholars, they basically knew what this practice was. But it wasn't fully, kept as it's supposed to be. And so when Moses appeared, he started reinstating everything, to the fullness. And that's why Pharaoh is accusing him, that he is making his people rest. Does it make sense?
They were in the mud pits of Egypt. Yeah, they were in the mud pits of Egypt. And if you're whipped and beaten and drug out to work, they were in slavery, and I don't think that they had a choice about Sabbath. I believe the Sabbath wasn't forgotten by all, but I believe their choices were forced to be taken away.
Right. And a lot of times we think they were in slavery, of course, at the end, they were forced and they were abused and everything else. But if you read the scriptures carefully, you can see that Pharaoh deceived them into. It started out with deception. So they were deceived into slavery. It wasn't like they were just all of a sudden made into slavery. They were deceived into. And then later on, in some point time of history, they started forcing them, and basically they said, they made them to abandon their practice of the Sabbath day, maybe through some decrees and some laws that they have passed. And it was all gradual. I don't think it was all of a sudden, they were made slaves. It was all gradual, and it was all done through deception.
Wasn't it Xerxes who was the pharaoh at that time?
Xerxes was Medo-Persian king.
Medo-Persian. Okay.
It's a different time frame. It's way in the future after.
Okay, so they wouldn't even know about that yet. If we go back to that point in history, aside from the scriptural references you can find for when Joseph and Moshe were in the Egyptian time of the Egyptians and the slavery, if we go back to historical record, then we should also be able to find these things in history that was kept. The decrees and things from Pharaoh.
Well, I'll let Jake answer that. He's more of a historian than I am. I don't know if they had records that were kept that well.
A lot of them were
We
oral.
have. Yeah, they were oral, and as the scriptures were all oral, passed down, And so that is another proof that they were passing down the stories because they've been passed down to Adam and Enoch and Abraham and Isaac and Jacob to get through to Joseph and then Moses later, 200 years later. So it does show you that it was all Sabbath and feast days and all were passed down orally until Moses wrote it down. Is that what you're thinking?
Yeah. What is that time in history? What around what time BC would this be with the Pharaoh and the Egyptians?
I don't have those dates, Justin.
It's, we can probably look it up just for the sake of study. We can look it up approximately when this took place.
Mm-hmm.
But I believe that as they passed it down orally to each other, to their generations, I still believe there is some kind of records that were made in writing, because Hebrews are known to be the very early on. They had their alphabet. It's Paleo-Hebrew alphabet. Even earlier types of alphabets that they used, and I believe that everything that was written down was just lost. Maybe they had some kind of records or some kind of written down scriptures somewhere, but it was just lost in time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't believe it was all 100% orally. They had to somehow record all this, all these practices and all the statutes and laws, because, if you read Genesis 26, you can see that it says that Abraham believed, and it was counted to him as into his righteousness. And then it says that he had kept all the charge and all the statutes and all the laws. So Abraham was practicing this way before children of Israel.
Well, I really like, Jake, that you brought out the part that Psalms 81 is referring to Joseph and when they were brought out of Egypt, and all about the new moon and the festivals, the feast days and everything, because he's reminding them too in there that he delivered them out of Egypt and the honey out of the rock and everything. So this is a good chapter to remind us about Joseph and the children of Israel. I just wanted to make one more point about another, and I just want to explain this calendar a little bit before we close this recording. That the original calendar was always 30 days a month, and then in the early 700 BC, before Messiah, the calendar was dented, and then it became 29.5 days. But we're going to talk about the original calendar here real quick. It was always a 30-day month, and the first quarter was the 8th day. So the phases of the moon tell you the weeks. And then over here on the 15th would be the middle of the month, a full moon day announcing the Sabbath. The last quarter phase announcing the Sabbath, the 22nd. And then you're going back to a darker moon on the 29th. And then you see the calendar in the middle here showing new moon day is day 1. And the first Sabbath, there's 6 working days. 6 working days, a Sabbath. 6 working days and a Sabbath. So the Sabbaths are always in Scripture that you can find are on the 8th, 15th, 22nd, and 29th. And it would be perfect for the time of Israel. It was so perfect for them because they had 30 days every month. So they knew they would have the last Sabbath was the 29th. They knew they would have the 30th as part of the old month and part of the new month. So the first day would be day 1. And they knew that next quarter would be exactly 1 week apart, and the next quarter 1 week later, and the next quarter 1 week later. It was so easy for them. But we've had a little bit of a dent in the calendar, so we don't have a perfect month every time. But we have enough there to be able to see that calendar in the heavens where no man can touch it. And I hope you will all continue studying. And Brother Jake, any more comments? I'm really glad that you brought out the story of Joseph in Psalms 81.
Yes, I have just one comment. Is there a way for you to share my screen?
No, I would have to.
Because I'm going to show you.
I would have to.
I'm going to show you one app that everybody can install on their phones. Whoever is interested in this, it's actually the phases of the moon that you can actually look at your phone, and it tells you, if it's a cloudy day, it tells you exactly what the moon is. And I use this tool as a learning experience, as trying to understand the lunar Sabbath and the lunar calendar. And so,
can you just say the name of the app or the link for it?
Yes, I can. Yes, I can. Hold on just a second. It says the app is called Phases of the Moon. And I can probably send you share the app with you, and I will share the app with Justin and everybody on the call. It's like interactive. You can actually flip through the moon, or not flip, but you can actually, I don't know how to explain it. You take your finger and you actually go through, and it shows you the days on top, and the dates, and you can actually see what the phase of the moon will be on a certain date on the Julian calendar. I'll send you the link.
Okay, okay, Brother Jake, I will put the link down in this YouTube. I will put it in the comments below. I'll put the link in my description so that everybody that's watching this YouTube can see your link. If you email it to me, I will put it on this YouTube that we're doing today.
Okay, excellent. I'll do that. This tool will help everyone to learn. That's all.
Brother, excuse me, I coughed a little. Brother Justin, could you just give a short testimony about your job, and you're new to this? Just give us a short testimony today to encourage others.
Yeah, sure. So I have been working since 2016 at a place that, and I've been observing Saturday Sabbath since I learned about Sabbath, and then recently at Sukkot I learned about Lunar Sabbath and the solar calendar. I'd known about it before, but I did not know that was the correct calendar and the Creator's calendar. So upon discovering that it was the correct calendar, I thought about a connection I had outside of the job that I'm currently working, who does construction. He's a contractor, and he told me that he's got all the work I could handle. And he's also Torah observant, so he wouldn't make me work on the Sabbath. And he's just now learning about the lunisolar calendar, but he had his suspicions as well about it not being on Saturday. That is where I'm at. I'm new to it. He's new to it, so I wanted to share some information with him. And my friend's name is Mike, but he's the one who wants to give me work so that I don't have to work on Sabbath.
Okay, and you were willing to give up your job, you said to me earlier. That is a big, brave, courageous step.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm commanded to observe the Sabbath and to keep it hallowed, to keep it holy, to keep it set apart, the fourth commandment. And it's, the word states in no uncertain terms that we need to keep those commands in order to walk the way. And so that's what I've got to do. I don't even have any, no bones about it. I gotta do what I gotta do, and if that means quitting my tech support job to do construction or contracting, then that's what I've got to do. I've got to follow the word and what my Father says.
Well, thank you for your testimony. And Justin just found out about the Creator Sabbath. Brother Jake shared with him at this Tabernacles that just ended on Tuesday this week. So we're so happy that Brother Jake was able to share and that Brother Justin is open, and we're just excited about this word about the Sabbath going out to all the nations, and thousands of people are finding out about the Creator Sabbath. So I just want to thank Brother Jake and Justin, and I just want to say to access more information about the Creator Sabbath, all the scriptures, all the historical proof, more proof about Joseph or Abraham or the Creator's calendar that is in the heavens, go to our website, lunarsabbathday.com. And also, on the events page, we have a calendar and also how you can connect with us for our conference calls. So thank you so much for being here today.